Curry was sending a spot in the big one and opened accordingly, with Dale Williams making an incisive run and found Danny Linane in support. The Bulldogs were in for number one. But back came the Seagulls to snatch the lead and the impetus to kick on. Harris a brilliant offload to Steve Walters onto Craig Hibbard, and Jeff Walters lent a hand. Out further to Jamie Lovett, and his lobbed pass back inside found Hibbard backing up, and it was 4 points. With that try, Lakes led 10-8 at the break, and soon after a couple of old teammates, Scott Carter and Steve Linane, became reacquainted. Lakes the penalty. But Brian Quinnan put a nail in the coffin of Curry, a smart try from dummy half, and the Seagulls led by 10. Jeff Walters provided the hammer, a blindside move saw Hibbard tear away, and full of running was Jeff Walters, and Lakes were in the grand final. To netball, and hot favourites Mary Ellen Max have won this year's Newcastle A-grade title, beating Howzat 47-36. The Max had a 1-goal lead at the first change and a 7-goal break at half-time before a brilliant third quarter. Howzat. Mary Ellen led by 9 at the last change before going on to win by 11. It's been hailed as a resounding success. The standard, as you would expect from such an event, world class. 8 teams from the USA, Brazil, Canada, Japan, Germany, New Zealand, Europe and Australia are competing in 3 shows. And today, hunter, halter, trail and horsemanship were just a cross-section of the events. Trail is one of the most interesting, trying to simulate obstacles steed and rider would most likely to encounter in a bush outing, such as gates, bigger than big trees where backing up is required, stumps, logs, etc. Making life more difficult for riders, all the horses are supplied, with the Australians not able to ride their own horses. You can't get much fairer than that.
Held at Armidale's Town Hall last night, the second annual awards have recognised the efforts of those restoring some of Australia's old buildings glory. The former director of the National Trust, Wendy McCarthy, sees the night as a morale booster for the entire community.
I think it's the most wonderful idea, and particularly in smaller communities. We've run them at a national level, and I think they get a little bit lost there. But at a local level, they're very, very successful, because it means that all the tradespeople and so on can see ways of being involved.
The work of painters and architects in the Armidale area was put under the spotlight, with awards covering 7 different categories. Taking out the best restoration title, Mallam House, one of the oldest homes in Armidale, costing tens of thousands of dollars to revive.
If these sorts of awards can continue, we're probably going to have a new look Australia by the year 2001.
Next week, Sydney will host the 9th International Industrial Relations Congress. Before the meeting got underway, delegates had an opportunity to see at first hand how Australia's system operates in the industrial heartland of the hunter. Union officials, government representatives and employers from Japan, New Zealand, the United States and South Africa were on Newcastle Harbour this morning.
Newcastle's been a site of major industrial relations reform, and our visitors this morning are catching a glimpse of where there's been major change. For example, they've seen the site of Australia's largest coal exporting facility.
As well as waterfront reform and shipping facilities, the group visited Mount Thorley open cut mine.
The hulking teenager has had a mixed career so far, with injury playing some part in holding him back and also some rotten luck. Chad missed the qualifying time for the Barcelona Olympics by 3/100ths of a second, and a last gasp trip to the United States to qualify the relay team also backfired.
I was very disappointed, as you say, from the Olympics, especially with our relay team, because results came back that we were actually ranked 9th in the world and the selectors couldn't justify sending us over there.
Representing the Oceania team at the World Cup will be a costly business for Stevenson, and he is hoping for public support. As well, Chad just wants to run fast.
I'd personally like to run faster than what Dean Capobianco ran at the Olympic Games. You know, that's a pretty tough task because Dean's a great runner, but I really think it's within my grasp.
Plenty of nerves punctuated the early exchanges, with all players willing to mix it. Vigorous play the order of the day. Corindai made a couple of breaks in the opening minutes, but solid Moree defence held them out. Corindai were off range also, and then launched another attacking raid, only to have it break down. Moree were stung into action, and their rucking became more intense. But as hard as they tried, the reply came from the blue and whites. This try by Nathan Ford putting the issue beyond Moree. One, 2 and 5, Isa show from Bairangi and Rough Road, the time 1:37.2.
They headed off this morning, and what they encountered was a shocking headwind, the blustery conditions claiming several riders along the gruelling 160-kilometre trek. Those that were able to struggle on received plenty of support along the way. The going was tough across the mountains, although some retained their sense of humour. 4 hours, 34 minutes and 59 seconds after they left Muswellbrook, Canberra's Adrian Nolan crossed the line well outside the race record. They had 2 wings in the air and 2 wheels on the ground. One last time they lined up under the international colours in front of the biggest crowd ever seen at a motocross in Australia. The farmhouse hamlet was inundated today. Organisers played down the traffic jams, more concerned with the 2-wheel traffic on the course. Italian Gianmarco Rossi defending his second spot in the 80cc class. Poland's Maciej Robel not far behind. Sweden's Jeff Nilsson was defending his overnight lead in the 125s. Italy's Stefano Passeri and Czech Lubomir Vojkovka hot on his heels. The Italians again look strong in the 4-stroke division, Mario Rinaldi edging ahead of Scott Jimmy Eriksson. And in the 500cc class, you guessed it, Italy first, Swede Sven-Erik Johnson second, American Rodney Smith third. Final results will be posted later tonight. Sweden still leads the team's trophy, Italy and Spain next. NBN will have a full Enduro post-mortem tomorrow night.
In these hard economic times, learning your reading, writing and arithmetic just isn't enough to land that elusive job. Busloads of students from Newcastle and Lake Macquarie converged on Newcastle City Hall in the quest for information from the careers market. Organisers say the recession has made the market all the more important.
I think there are reduced opportunities for kids these days, and kids really do need to take advantage of any opportunity given to them to get careers information. The right job might not be there when you want it, but at least if you know a plan of attack, how to get to the right job, it's certainly going to help you in the future.
More than 8,000 students and parents are expected to make their way through the information by the time the expo ends tomorrow night. Employers and career advisors are telling students about the various careers and courses available. The students have given the market their stamp of approval.
I went down and spoke to the nurses and they filled me in on a lot of stuff that I didn't know and that I needed to know, and so it worked out really well.
So how's today helped? It's just told me what I have to get in uni and everything, so it's going to help me study harder.
We've got to publish.
If it's humanly possible, we will.
Why wouldn't it be possible?
Well, you know what the libel laws are like.
Oh, absolutely. They're there to make sure that the rich, powerful and crooked stay rich, powerful and crooked.
The libel suits on something like this would be over the moon. Massive.
Rex, we'd be printing words right out of the man's mouth. How can he sue?
Grant Dodwell and Barry Shepherd are members of the Hunter Valley Theatre Company's cast for David Williamson's play Sons of Cain. Grant is best known as a soapy star, but for the past 7 years has focused most of his attention on the theatre. Sons of Cain looks at corruption in both the world of state politics and journalism. The play was written in 1985, but Grant says an audience at a dress rehearsal last night was quick to pick up on its relevance to the current political climate.
People were onto it straight away, and when they heard things that were very similar to what's been happening in today's papers, that's good. I mean, I think that's immediate theatre. That's fantastic.
The play officially opens tomorrow night to a full house. It runs until the 26th.
Don't you go running to Warren if the tapes were authenticated. If we could just prove it.
For the first time in my life, I've got the goods on the boys at the top. If you block this one, I'll have a concrete job done on you and reckon it's the best value for money I've ever had.
Although the school hall was damaged, it survived the quake. While the other buildings on the site were pulled down, builders were able to refurbish the hall. Today, the facility was being used once again, as it has been for more than a century. The land where the school stands was donated by colliery owner Edward Merriweather in the 1870s. The building's original gabled ceiling and wooden floors have been retained. The hall will be officially opened next term.
.300 schools entered the Commonwealth Bank knockout at the beginning of the year. Now there are only 2 left, fighting for victory. Taree has had a dream run through earlier rounds, beating local teams to become Hunter champions. Then the team sailed through the state quarter and semi-finals. Their biggest test will come on Friday night. Despite having injury problems, coach Greg Pickford has faith in his team.
We've got a game plan and they stick to that, and they've got very good understanding.
And he believes they can come up with another win.
Oh, I'm confident that they'll go well. I mean, we've seen Epping play. They're a very good side. There are 2 good sides in there, and it certainly won't be for lack of effort. No, I think they'll go well.
It was a dour first half, punctuated by drop ball, big tackles and some flashes of brilliance. The chip from Greenway's second rower Jason Carter and winger Gary Schofield, that's right, Gary Schofield, in for the first of 2 tries. He went close to making it 3, the Central Coast boys pulling out some top cover defence. The locals looked to be gaining the upper hand, then the kick, which backfired. Francis Greenway led 10-6 at the break, but the floodgates opened in the second half. Greenway piled on 5 tries, 3 goals and a field goal. Gorican's Buckley campaign came to a shuddering halt, 37-10. Francis Greenway now has an appointment in the final at Parramatta Stadium on September 19th.
A sawn-off rifle is the best lead detectives have in their hunt for a gunman who menaced the proprietor of Frames Auto Electrical Shop on Metcalfe Street. A shot was fired as the owner wrestled for control of the gun. The assailant fled empty-handed. Police have contacted numerous gun dealers in an effort to identify the weapon and its owner, so far without success. The weapon is a .22 caliber Austrian Voer, which was imported in large quantities about 20 years ago.
It is distinctive in that the trigger guard is plastic and the receiver cover is plastic. It's a single shot bolt action.
The weapon's serial number is 141122. The offender also left behind a brown woolen beanie which police believe may be easy to identify. Anyone with information should contact Wallsend detectives. Tom Hilston, NBN News.
The body of Simon McHugh was found floating in Cockle Creek on the 2nd of June this year. 25-year-old Nigel James Boland, formerly of Mulbring Street, Charlestown, and 24-year-old Paul Mark Hart, formerly of Macquarie Road, Cardiff, have both been charged with murdering McHugh. Simon McHugh's flatmate Stephen Caldwell told the court that Simon had been assaulted 2 weeks before he was murdered. It happened when he was walking home along National Park Street. The court was told that the night before McHugh's body was found at Cockle Creek, he'd been drinking at the Delaney Hotel in Cooks Hill with his sister Madeleine and Stephen Caldwell. When they left Simon at the pub later that night, he was intoxicated. Senior Constable Stephen Henley said that at 4:30 the next morning, he saw the 2 accused, Hart and Boland, washing a blue Holden at Car Lovers Car Wash at Warners Bay. There was no registration sticker on the vehicle. According to Constable Henley, when asked about why they were washing the car so late at night, Hart said he'd done some work on the car and they were just taking it for a run. The constable also said Hart told him the 2 men had gone to the Bellevue Hotel earlier in the night for a couple of drinks. Constable Henley searched the boot of the car and found clothes and a pair of boots which appeared to be damp. Continues tomorrow. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
The side from Lambton High School went into the game with some injury worries, but it was quick to show its skill on its home ground. Several chances to score were missed by both teams, and by half-time they were locked at 2-2. More variety in the visitors' attacking style broke the deadlock. Foster wrapped up the day with a 4-2 win. Foster High now progresses to the interregional finals, where it will meet last year's state competition winners, Maxville High.
Nothing can prepare a soldier for the life and death decisions of real combat, but now laser technology is providing the one vital ingredient missing from training. When these soldiers grounds, they know whether they've scored a hit or a miss. A tiny laser on the end of the barrel sends a signal at the same time as the blank round is fired. Receptors on a harness worn by each combatant records whether the laser is on target, registering as a high-pitched signal which only shuts down when the soldier lies on his back.
It actually gives the soldier the ability to kill somebody else or to be killed himself, so it makes it a lot more realistic.
But that's not where the exercise stops. The equipment also records the number of rounds fired, the number of times a soldier is hit, and who did it, all available on a computer printout.
He killed him with a strike, and he near missed 5106.
There are 1,500 lasers included in the New Zealand-developed Infantry Weapons Effect Simulation System. It costs $4.5 million. Money well spent, says Major General Mike Jeffrey.
Manpower is our critical thing, and we can't afford to have high casualties in any conflict that we go into.
Over time, the laser system will be extended to wider battlefield scenarios, including tank-to-tank and air-to-ground warfare. Tom Hilston, NBN News.
In February, the 140,000-tonne bulk carrier Ajax was detained by the Maritime Safety Authority in Newcastle. The Cypriot-registered vessel was not allowed to leave until structural problems in its ballast tanks had been repaired. The Ships of Shame inquiry came to Newcastle today. Chairman and Newcastle MP Peter Morris says maritime authorities are only inspecting 25% of vessels.
That rate could be increased, but we'll see as we go through the inquiry and as we look at other ports and the rates being pursued there.
The inquiry has heard that many international seamen are living in squalor on board shonky ships, being exploited by shipping companies for whom greed is still good.
But that's at the expense of the lives of the seafarers who are being exploited. It's at the expense of the marine environments of countries that will be damaged and destroyed when a shipping sinking or collision grounding occurs.
The inquiry has heard that a minority of international ships are poorly maintained and operated by poorly trained crews. By contrast, Australian vessels have an excellent record. 5 witnesses gave evidence during the half-day hearing. It's hoped the committee's report will pave the way for change.
Hopefully it will lead to a much stronger worldwide recognition of what is going on, and certainly a much stronger Australian recognition of what's going on.
Anthony Griffiths, NBN News. Cardboard Newcastle's painstakingly pieced together by 4th-year Faculty of Architecture students. In just 6 weeks they reshaped the Steel City, incorporating super road and rail links, terminals as far west as Broadmeadow, and a bridge linking Newcastle and Carrington. Kevin Schreiber and Sharon Ng took a broader view, believing Newcastle's future lies north.
Well, I think Newcastle's at a dead end, and if it doesn't do something about actually changing its outlook, it's got nowhere to go.
Jane Anderson and David Boyle's Newcastle is gleaming, futuristic. Less realism, more idealism. For Richard Stone and Joseph Querello, their ideal Newcastle lies somewhere in between. Honeysuckle head honchos inspected the work. They say the key word is vision.
A lot of the ideas that the students have thought of obviously couldn't be incorporated straight away, but during the years I think we'll find that we'll be pleasantly surprised at the innovation and imagination that will be used on the honeysuckle side.
Maybe some visionary or somebody with a bit of ability to produce money and rabbits out of the hat could actually put this sort of scheme into reality. I think it would be very good for Newcastle.
The models are on display in the City Administration Centre. Anthony Griffiths, NBN News.
There was plenty of curling, blow-drying and spraying going on at the championships. The competition was divided into a number of sections, which ranged from the open women's cut and blow-dry to classic evening and fantasy. There was certainly no shortage of imagination, with the bazaar gaining plenty of attention. 43 of the 104 contestants were from the Hastings area. Cameron's hair studio at Coffs Harbour took out the prize for achieving the most overall points.
The program is designed to reduce air, water and noise pollution. During the next 2 years, council representatives will inspect and assess about 2,000 premises in Newcastle. They'll be particularly interested in work practices that cause pollution.
So there's a lot of small industries out there who unwittingly might be creating problems for the environment.
The council will develop an inventory of industries which store chemicals and generate waste.
Some of the material storages may not be a problem now, but the way it's done without bunding, they may create a problem if there was an accident. So once again, you get spillage and problems into the waterways.
Offenders will be prosecuted only as a last resort. Newcastle Council hopes the audit program will make industry more aware of the need to regulate itself. Jane Anderson, NBN News.
The old tools of house hunting, biro and newspaper broadsheets, eyes peering at rows of real estate ads. Well, those days may be numbered. This is ISIS, the Intelligent Spending Information Service, the brainchild of Williamtown couple Wayne and Jackie McGregor. It's touchscreen technology. You tell the computer what you want, price bracket, location, number of bedrooms, and ISIS shows you photographs of the houses that match. ISIS took $10,000 and 2 years to develop, and it earned the McGregors third place in the statewide Livewires competition. The Real Estate Institute says it will open new doors.
We're trialling the service in the Newcastle region, and early in 1993 we hope to expand to Sydney and will franchise to other capital cities as well.
Advertising costs will be cut.
It's only the people that want to see your house that are actually going to see it. So it's far more cost effective. The real estate agents will be able to reduce their advertising costs by hundreds of times.
Would complement and to some areas certainly replace the amount of money spent on advertising now in newspapers.
ISIS will be installed in banks. Will even be able to give out a compatibility rating. A prospective property owner's perfect match. Anthony Griffiths, NBN News.
The match was played in the grounds of Armidale High School. The two teams were evenly matched in defence and attack. Ed's Gary Parker in the green and white was the first to cross the try line. But Armidale retaliated. As newcomers to the game, Armidale managed to topple the southern team 4 tries to 3. Armidale is now down to the final 8 teams in the state and will travel to Sydney next month for the next round in the knockout competition.
Alison Jarman progressed through regional and state judgings to make the national finals this week in Melbourne. Alison's composition of 3 different pieces of music to accompany The Tempest, performed by a string ensemble with percussion, was judged as the outstanding music entry. The Shakespearean Festival has been running for 3 years, and organisers judge the standard of this year's entries to be higher than previous events. The overall award for Young Shakespearean Artist of the Year was won by a Victorian schoolgirl, Atlanta Coogan, for her musical interpretation of A Midsummer Night's Dream.
Most triathlons are made up of run, swim and cycle legs. The Gloucester Triathlon is altogether different. Competitors begin with a 22-kilometre bike ride up the Buckets Mountain. From there, it's an 11-kilometre kayak paddle down the Gloucester River. And lastly, a 10-kilometre run into town. This is the second year the race has been held. The number of competitors has doubled. More than 200 people will take part from as far as Queensland, Victoria and central New South Wales. All eyes will be on last year's winner, Brad Maund of Cardiff, but he'll have to work hard. Sydney's Kevin Nichols will be out to command a lead in the bike leg. He was part of the 1984 Olympic team, which won gold in the team cycle pursuit. Marathon runner John Cullity will also be competing, so too will Wildwater kayak champion Tim Doyle. The race starts from Gloucester at 9 o'clock on Sunday.